I do hope that this fan is not messing with the sound quality. When you work in the South, it gets very, very hot and very humid, at least here in Louisiana. So I really like these Craftsman wrenches. I don't like everything about them, but there are some places that I think a guy would be worth having these. I will say here on the farm that they're too small, really. I wish Craftsman would come out with some bigger sizes. But I do have a review on these to help people to know whether or not this is for them, because it's not for everybody. So if you want, you can check out that review video. But I do really, I think if Craftsman would make a larger version of those anti-slip, and I think they would work really well for farmers and even millwrights, because you've actually got the room to use that 6-point. But a lot of times here on the farm, and even on in a millwright setting, they're just too small. So as some of you know, I bought this grater blade. I got a really good deal on it because our driveway recently got washed out really badly. This grater blade does have a little bit of stuff that I need to work on. So today I'm actually replacing the grater blade with another old grater blade that I had for it. It's an actual blade. It's a lot better than the old one that's on here. That's pretty much what we're working on. It's nothing crazy, nothing major. We're just going to go through the process and get the next blade put on. Hope you all enjoy. Let's see. When you have your 3/4 set, always make sure you have a little adapter, 1/2-inch adapter in your 3/4 set. A lot of times you can use it for a 1/2-inch impact, but you can also keep a little extra 1/2-inch ratchet in your set, and usually it works pretty good. I stopped doing this last night. I stopped right in the middle of it because I was, well, it just got too hot out here. So I went and swam in the pool for a little while, and now I'm back over here. I should have sprayed everything with something like this, and I just did not. So if I would have remembered, I would have. There's a couple of these that I like. I do like this PB Blaster. It's pretty decent stuff. My dad used to like this one. So I guess, to be honest, partly I use it because it reminds me of him. But I also, I do really like it. This is another one I've recently started to really like. It's called a cutting oil. It's really good a lot of times for breaking stuff loose. What I've noticed is it works best when you're going to leave it sit for a while. And the third one that I really like is actually a Marble Mystery Oil. Marble Mystery Oil is pretty much a good thing for everything. Every man should keep some Marble Mystery Oil around no matter what. This one foams up, so you can get it into a spot that you don't think you can get it into. Like this one will squirt down deep, but this one will go like on a bolt or something like that. It will actually go into a bearing. Like if you have a bearing that's seized up and you need it to just last for like a day longer before you get your new bearing, like one of those sealed bearings, you can actually spray this on that sealed bearing, and it will leak into it. And it's got just a little bit of it's thicker than this is right here, but it has a way of penetrating down deep inside there with that foaming action. So it actually works pretty decent, but I don't always use it when I need it. When I need something right away, I'm more likely to use this or like a Marble Mystery Oil. Realistically, I should probably go to town and buy some more of these, but I got a lot to do today, and I've got to go back to a shutdown tomorrow, and I'm going to be really, really busy after this. So I wanted to try to knock this out. I was hoping I didn't have to run into town. Town is like 30 minutes from here, so by the time I get there, get done, get back, and all like that, it's always just kind of throws off your whole day. I've got to get this done, and I've also got to get an equipment modification. I've got to get that done as well. I know everybody in the comments is going to get mad at me for using one of these silver sockets. I don't happen to have the impact socket in that size, but these have a lifetime warranty, so maybe that's what that's for. I'm going to have to get a better impact because that DeWalt just ain't going to do it. All right, you'd be proud of me. I did find the right socket. You just can't beat these old Ingersoll Rand. These are pretty darn nice. Obviously, anything's going to be better. Well, not anything, but these old DeWalts, the newer DeWalts are better. They're not nearly as good as the Milwaukee. Milwaukee has just got it when it comes to their impacts, I have to admit. But I found this in the dumpster. Works pretty darn good. And I don't have the money for Milwaukee. I mean, I do, but here on the farm, I don't think it's necessary. I think that it's really not worth the common man to invest his entire tool set on Milwaukee. I think DeWalt does just fine for what we do. And then for the occasional nut or bolt that you cannot break loose, this Ingersoll Rand, the old timing, you know, you are attached to that. But this sucker right here works pretty darn good for the occasional place that you need something like this. So you see how this ends up being kind of, it's tacky. See, it's kind of a little bit more tacky than what this would be once it dries out. So for quicker use, this ends up being better, but this has its place, and that's not, you know, this is cutting well, and I know that, but I find this to be really good for a couple of different things. Like when I'm going to sit it overnight, because it just starts to penetrate and really get down in there, and it's got a tackier, greasier kind of feel. So it seems to be better if you can allow it to sit overnight. Plus, it's really good for like a PTO shaft. If you've got a PTO shaft that's stuck, you spray that sucker on there, and it gets that nice tacky oil all down in there overnight. You put that, you know, and it just kind of soaks down in there. Looking at that blade over there, I've actually got a decent cutting side on the other side. They just wore it down so much on the existing side, because those blades, when you buy them brand new, they've got two sides. They wore it down so bad that I worry that the bolt pattern will make it to where the other one won't be quite. I mean, it should still work, and I may go ahead and try it, but I do have another blade over here that's a little bit less wore, so we'll see. Wrangler Star, I'm sure y'all have seen his channel. If you haven't, you need to go check it out. He's really cool. He's pretty much an OG of YouTube, and I think that he's one of the best creators. I actually really like to watch a lot of his stuff. But he says something that I don't quite agree with, and that is, and I love you, man, if you're watching this, but he says that your shop should be, you know, completely clean all of the time. And I know what he means, and I agree with what he's saying. With that being said, in some cases, like my shop, for instance, I run a business, and I do a lot of stuff for my business. And so there are times I don't think that it's advantageous for it to be perfectly spotless at all times. Especially if I'm waiting for parts for a certain project that I'm working on or something like that. With that being said, with what he's actually saying is how much more peaceful you feel in your shop, especially if you're using that shop strictly for your own enjoyment, then he's got something there. Keeping your shop as clean as possible does help keep your mind from being cluttered, and it just helps you to feel better. So he's definitely got something there. I don't know if it works for absolutely everybody, but love you, buddy. So since that other side, I don't know how well you can see this on the camera. We'll try to hold it up. Maybe you can see it on the camera. This is the side. It's just all concave in here, and then it's a lot wider out there. This cutter bar, this side, is still in honestly pretty darn good shape, as good as that other one. So I don't know how it's going to look when we bolt it up, but I'm going to just look. We'll lay it in place. Just see. Because we might actually, see, that's the issue. You're just, I don't know what it is. The way these are supposed to be built, you're supposed to be able to bolt this in, and you still got a cutter bar, which you would, but it's awful close to that edge right there on my on this right here. So I'm going to try the other blade and just see how it works. But we're going to bolt it up like that. Right or wrong, that's what we're going to do. Inevitably, there will be a purist out there that will tell me that I should have run a tap and die on these. Most people don't have a die. Now, I do have taps and dies that will fit every single one of these. But this is going to run up just fine the way it is. Maybe I should have done that. In reality, what I should have done is gone and bought more bolts, but I just didn't. I know that y'all are used to being in YouTube land where everyone kind of pretends and puts on and does stuff that maybe they wouldn't normally do. And I promise you that's what they're doing most of the time. But I am in the real world, and I'm not going to pretend with y'all. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And in some days, I would have cleaned these up. But today is not that day. So I'm going to let y'all be here for real and see what's actually going on. As sure as I cleaned these up, this bar would end up not fitting, and I'd end up having to go to town anyway and buy all new bolts and all new stuff, and then I would have wasted 30 minutes cleaning these up. Now, somebody on YouTube land, they would have done all that just to make a video. I don't have time for that. I've got a legitimate project that has to get done. There are days that I'm able to just do content, and that's it. Most of the time, I have to carry y'all along and do exactly what it is that needs to be done that day. But since we are on YouTube, if you would do everything that the algorithm likes, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, I would really appreciate it. So I have two options. These, the holes in this right here are not square anymore. They've been so wore out that they're not going to hold, unfortunately. Actually, no, okay, I see what it is. The bolt, the square on this bolt is smaller than the square on this bolt. It's weird because this part fits down in there pretty decent. So it needs a different bolt. Problem is the hole in here, this is a different blade. It's a blade that I traded. So I got a couple options. One, I can put a little tiny weld right there, which I won't like myself when it comes to taking it loose. Or two, I can go to town and try to find these bolts. I may not even find these bolts. So these bolts were actually too small for the hole. So technically the blade was the wrong blade for this. But like I said, got it on a trade for a pretty good deal. And this is going to probably work for a good many years for me for what I do before I have to end up buying another blade. Main thing is it gets me out of a jam now and I'm done. The deal was, you can tell it's a little bit smaller there, and then the square is too small. So I could have gone to town and gotten some more bolts, but then the hole would have been too big here and I would have had to cut this bolt hole out bigger, just a whole thing. This works just fine. So this is what I did. I welded a small spot of 6011. Now the reason I went with that is because 6011 does not penetrate the same as 6010, and it's not nearly as flexible as 7018. So I did it on purpose because you see that little crack right there. That way, there's not very much weld at all, but they will crack out. You can tell that one right there. The weld's already cracked. So it held it just enough for me to get that nut right there tightened up. But now the welds have cracked out as soon as they cooled down, and then with that little bit of impact. If there's one or two where they're not quite cracked out, they wouldn't be that hard. I'm good with a torch. I know I can wash that out without messing anything up.